dun, dun. We are live at Suzie.
Hey, welcome aboard. I'm Suzie. That's Matt. This is Suzilla. You are at Wenatchee Insurance, Suzie Solutions in Wenatchee, Washington.
Yep, it's another day of 100 plus degree temperatures. The air is chunky.
Yeah.
So I have picked the topic of
Chunky air?
the business of environment.
Oh.
Because in the last couple weeks, there's been a lot of things out there that is very environmentally focused, other than the obvious problems we're having with the chunky air, the hotter temperatures.
The environmental issues, generally speaking.
Yeah. So, and they're like, well, why in the heck is an insurance guy talking about environment?
Well, I can tell you at least off the top of my head that from a property standpoint, the whole environment, chunky air, flaming hillsides thing has really impacted the cost of your homeowner's insurance.
Well, yeah, that's a big one in our area. With more disasters, like it's kind of been mid-range this year so far. So that's why a lot of the, knock on wood, so that's why a lot of the insurance companies are jacking up rates, get ready to the wildfires. Hawaii is the latest. What is it? 2,000 homes or
basically half of the island of Maui and an entire town is gone.
Yes,
billions of dollars in claims potential there.
Oh yeah, and well, about an hour ago they just evacuated the capital of the northern provinces of Canada.
The capital.
Their capital city.
Okay, what city is that?
The Northwest Territories of Canada.
Sorry, I that's one thing I don't know. I know like Toronto and Calgary and stuff, but I don't know what the capital city is. They're evacuating the entire city.
Yep.
I knew Canada was having trouble, but I didn't realize it was quite that bad.
Yeah, it's big. Yellowknife.
Yep. And the Northern Territories is like, we're talking near Alaska level.
Yeah, it's like right on the water.
It's tundra-y.
Yeah,
it's weird that they're bursting into flame.
Well, it's the same. It's that dry conditions that we see around here.
Yeah, that's in places that have not normally had it.
Around Hawaii.
Yeah.
Around Northwest. So yeah, it's that 1 or 2 degrees that everyone's like, oh, I'm never making better. It's making a difference. So yeah, while it's only a capital, only 20,000 people evacuating.
Only.
It's literally on a body of water surrounded by lakes, and they're having to evacuate.
It's still heavily threatened. Well, I mean, the smoke we're getting here in Central Washington is mostly Canadian. Mm-hmm. And the air quality, we had air quality alerts. It was unsafe for sensitive people yesterday. Your drinky isn't properly stirred, is it?
Yeah, that's why I gotta.
He's got a stir stick. So that's the noise you're hearing, in case you're curious.
Yeah. So yeah, and you most people forget also that, hey, you know what? Those chunky air leads to health problems later on down the road.
Oh yeah, we've had so many rough, heavy smoke years in the last decade. I suspect we're all going to see, as we get into our 70s, we're going to start seeing some, the health pushbacks from it.
Well, yeah, because that's one of the things that, they try to protect us with the environmental law and the Clean Air Act was to reduce some of that airborne pollution.
Right.
So that, it could breathe a little bit easier.
Yeah, and it worked until some of those got reversed. Well, for example, your coal burning smokestacks and stuff like that was creating in back east was creating a lot of.
Oh, that was the acid rain.
Yeah,
that was a really big environmental concern because it wiped out the lake trout. And so then the coal industry decided to, hey, let's invent clean coal. I air quoted that.
You did.
Because it is a marketing thing. Whereas, the coal industry really is on a decrease for like the amount of people it employs.
Yeah. Because they're just not using it as much.
Yeah, because it is a really rough environment to take out of the ground. Mm-hmm. It's rough on the people who do it, and then it has some horrible byproducts.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It is also a major source of energy in the United States.
I think it's actually down.
It's down, but it's still major. I mean, we're here in the West. We're all about the hydro power. We're a little and we're spoiled. We'll admit it.
Yeah,
But you get back like into Pennsylvania and.
Yeah, coal is down to 19.5%.
Okay, very cool
for share. So it's way down. Yeah, we're hydroelectric around here.
Yeah, we're all about the rivers.
Nuclear's at 18.2.
Okay. Oh, excuse me.
Wind is actually more than coal at 21.5.
That's great.
So let's see, that's total renewable. So our total renewables is more than coal. Do we got a hydropower?
That's the thing. Renewable coal is non-renewable. Once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, it's weird seeing hydropower is only 6.2 because of how much it fuels Washington State and most of the West Coast.
Yeah, hydropower supports the vast majority of Washington, chunks of Oregon and California and Nevada. We sell our surplus power.
Yeah. So yeah, coal is, like I said, downward trend, and that's a good thing because we need those renewable resources. Let's go to.
Oh, now you're gonna have the coal miners manage.
If anyone's been a coal miner has dealt with someone dying of black lung, I don't think they're going to be that mad at me saying, "Hey, let's look at something else."
Yeah, well, let's get the people who might lose their jobs retrained.
Or someone who likes to fish in the mountain streams.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny. I remember acid rain was a big thing, and people really didn't start paying attention to it. Still start beating up their cars.
Mm-hmm. And it's a big thing. One of the things that we're starting to see, and this was actually in the Wenatchee World on August 14th. I actually caught it. An Inuit man is building his home to be fire resistant.
Okay, that's good. Is he using like concrete?
Yeah, he's using concrete, steel girders. 40. It's been 40 years in the making. It's unfinished. Workers building his roof as a concrete colonnade on a portion of the house holds up by a naked steel frame. So, it's up Mud Creek where we looked at.
I like Mud Creek.
Yeah, it's an interesting area, but yeah, they're really working hard to re-engineer this 2,000 square foot home to be fire resistant, and we're going to see more of those structures. I know that there's one along the Columbia that will use concrete dome technology, and they literally shut off the air intakes and bunkered down and let a wildfire pass around.
It worked.
So we are seeing that, and that takes investment in materials because those materials are not cheap.
It's not. And isn't that considered non-standard construction?
Depends. This one is built in a very standard way.
Okay.
Concrete. It was a concrete form home. Is considered non-structured, so yeah, we'd have to be special market, but it's also fire resistant.
Well, you would think that the insurance companies would be starting to embrace these options.
Most of these are built in areas that are considered high fire zones.
Well, that makes sense. I mean,
and so what savings there could be from underwriting, they're having to deal with other issues for risk. Because if you think about it, if you're more than 5 miles away from a fire station, you start to see a increased risk of everything burning down to the ground or people dying.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
So yeah.
It's not just that particular building. It's it's the surrounding area. It's the
surrounding area. It's access. As I pointed out, because we've seen a lot of wildfires. Usually, what happens is the wildfire will take out the telephone poles because everything's still above ground.
Yeah.
So the power goes out, and then shortly after that, you deal with the wildfire showing up, and you've got no pumps for your water sources.
Yeah. And that's why that's one of the things that it's kind of cool to be living in. Okay, so we have fires. It's part of the deal. Mm-hmm. But we also live on a river, and they've got these like airplanes and helicopters that have these great big buckets that drop mm-hmm. down into the river and scoop water up. It's very kind of cool. Was it 7 years ago? Was it that long when the big one up on the 4th of July one that took out the expensive houses? Mm-hmm. I remember that
more like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, I said 7. But I remember I had I knew somebody who had a backyard pond, and they mm-hmm. were, they're just sucking the water out of the backyard pond because it was closer to the fire. They lost all their fish. They had some koi in there. It's like, well, that's a decent trade-off.
Yeah, and that's one of the weird trade-offs, because you used to have what was called stock ponds. Mm-hmm. And if some people consider it a swimming hole, or a swimming pool, then you have to deal with a liability risk of that.
Yeah. So because if you got an official swimming pool, you got to have a fence around it. Stock pond is different.
Yeah, there are all sorts of words. So yeah, you've got houses now that are being built with this. One of my friends said, "Oh man, I wish that we could have AC with solar panels," and I'm like, you can't quite fuel. You have enough solar panels to fuel AC, but you can do it as swamp cooler.
Right. Well, another thing is, if you've got solar panels, they can fuel the rest of the home, and the standard the AC can be, fueled by your city power.
AC uses a tremendous amount of energy.
Yes, I understand that. What I'm saying is, instead of the city power fueling the entire house, it only fuels that one component. So your overall bill should be reduced.
Well, yeah, you're going to reduce the bill. However, we need to look at having better cooling technology.
Oh, absolutely. One thing that they used to do before air conditioning is all about architecture and ceilings and
that's started to play back in 2000 with it's called passive solar.
Yeah.
Or also earth homes are another good example of that. That's again non-standard construction because of building codes.
Well, yeah. Well, okay. So you might remember. I'm old, so I remember these things. There used to be above doors little windows you could open, transoms they called them. Mm-hmm. That was to control the heat.
True. That works on the principles of convection.
Exactly, and that's what we need to kind of start embracing again. I think when you're building a home, a transom's not a bad idea.
It's also why they had higher ceilings.
Yes.
So there's casual thing. Having a leafy tree that casts shade on your house during the summer is a good thing, and the leaves drop off. So in the winter, you get the solar gain.
Exactly.
That's another.
But you got to make sure your tree's in the right place and the right kind of tree, so it doesn't get into your pipes or fall over onto your house. There's things to consider.
Yes, and if it's leaning on your house, then the insurance companies freak out.
Yes, they do.
So there's all sorts of things like that.
It's a give and take.
It's give and take. It's one of those ones you got to study. You got to find your builders that are doing that smart construction if you want to capitalize on it.
Well, one of the problems you see now is smart construction is so expensive. Mm-hmm. And that's really the biggest concern. I mean, right now there's a housing shortage in a lot of areas. And so they're slapping together cheap houses that if you sneeze on them hard, they would probably burst into flames.
Well, there are minimum codes.
Well, yes.
They have increased the insulation ratings.
Yes.
So that is a benefit. That's one way you can do it. And yes, it does cost more to build. However, the payback in the reduced energy cost.
Oh, huge.
Comes back.
Unfortunately, the minimum codes are not good enough.
Yeah. My famous line is if you build it for minimum code, it's crap. Because you always want above code. Mm-hmm. It's like saying, hey, my kid in school who's getting a D is good.
Well, he's a good.
No, I want my kid to have A's and B's.
Yeah. You want your kid to do better. You want your house to do better. You want the higher the quality of the build, the lower the overall long-term costs. If you have a shoddily put together home, you're going to have more repairs over time.
Oh, being green is not just
I'm just thinking
shoddily constructed.
No, I'm talking financials here, dear. The grand scheme of things. But yes, being green is smart because it gives you the opportunity to reduce from a purely financial standpoint, being green can reduce your financial outlay for things like electricity or water.
Mm-hmm. Now we're going to get into the laws of things there. And this is a very important one because it was a landmark court decision in Montana. Judge Seeley of the 1st District Court in Montana found Monday that youth in the state have a fundamental constitutional right to a clean and healthful environment, which includes climate, as she struck down 2 laws that bar state agencies from considering the climate's effects of fossil fuel projects.
That's interesting.
So
this judge used the Jude when to push things through?
No, she used the Constitution.
Well, that too.
And the Montana State Constitution has that. Hey, we're gonna be good stewards of the environment.
I appreciate that about Montana.
And a group of 16 children got together and said, hey, you know what? We need to strike down these laws that were funded by business that were destructive to the environment.
I appreciate that. Good job, kids.
It is a good job, kids. It is very important. There is a similar suit now in a youth-led Hawaiian lawsuit set to open in June of 24.
Okay.
There are multiple states where they are taking folks to court about this. I remember hearing about this a couple months ago on how absurd it was because, kids.
Yeah.
And
I appreciate that.
And the fact that they went in and said, hey, look, it's right here in our Constitution. Mm-hmm. We want to uphold our Constitution. Mm-hmm. Is a very very important. It's pretty awesome that they did it. It's horrible that they had to.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to see more of this.
One of the things I do like to see of this is that clearly we're getting some leaders coming up in the next generation.
Oh, they're fierce.
I like that.
And that is really important to it's what is it? Youth-led climate group at the Sunrise Movement, which tweeted support for the 16 young activists behind the climate case during the trial, said Monday the victory proves that Gen Z is a powerful force in the fight against climate crisis, and we won't be stopped. Mark my words, from courthouses to state houses to ballot boxes in 2024, our generation is taking over.
Good.
And it's one of those ones. It's like, hey, how long we can't do a, in the 70s and 80s, it was, folks that were dumping freaking chemical waste mm-hmm. in like the rivers and saying they're just dumping it and hide in the cover of darkness and then leaving town.
Yeah, I mean, that's where Blinky the fish came from in The Simpsons. Uh-huh. Toxic. I mean, there was a river in Michigan that was on fire for years.
I think it was Detroit, the Detroit fire. Yeah. It was. Yeah, famously caught fire multiple times because of how toxic it was.
Yeah.
And the thing is a lot of those businesses that do that do it because they're out of the area. Mm-hmm. They're taking all the resources, they're trashing the environment, and they're getting the heck out. So they're not locally friendly.
No.
There's a few people that gain money from it and they leave. And it's not long term. It's mm-hmm. like you see like the waste mines in Appalachia on how they've destroyed the streams, or mm-hmm. even the silt from Canada mm-hmm. from the different mines and lumber processing that have floated down into Lake Roosevelt.
Yeah,
that people don't talk about.
Yeah. the mining and there's a mountain in Alaska that's basically hollow because of the gold mining.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that level of impact that they're finally starting to address.
Yeah, it's one that's going to take time.
It's been slow, but it's becoming a thing again, which I appreciate. Well, I had the weirdest thing. One of my most conservative clients, pretty much because we were coming into this bad heat week, pretty much acknowledged climate change. It's like I never would have expected it from this person.
You trip around the woods long enough, and you're gonna come that way.
Yeah,
it's just one of those things. It's like, hey man, I like hunting and fishing. I like camping. So let's. I'm gonna quickly blow through Hawaii. Here's 9 things everyone should know about Maui's wildfire disaster. This is kind of quick. Right now, it's this nation's deadliest wildfire in more than a century. At least 106 people have died.
Yeah, which is weird.
The event is the deadliest natural disaster in Hawaiian history, deadlier than the tsunami in 1960, which killed 61 people.
Yeah, that's what you expect in Hawaii.
It now has a higher death toll than any other wildfire in U.S. history since 1918, when the blazes of Minnesota killed as many as 1,000 people.
Wow!
So it's going to take weeks for people to know. More than 2,200 structures are destroyed or damaged in the town of Lahaina. So that's just a massive loss.
Oh yeah, and these were not cheap. These weren't just like little shacks. No, this was like where the Lahaina's where the high end shops were.
Okay,
it's where your Hollywood folks went to shop.
Okay. I'm gonna hammer you on that on your elitism there.
Yes,
and the reason why I'm gonna do that is because we saw that here with the poorest of the poorest who had their manufactured home paid for, and they chose not to have insurance. Immediately, they can't restore it.
Right. Okay. What I'm getting at is the amount that's going to be claimed is going to be higher because you've got Louis Vuitton bags, being burned versus, Kmart.
Okay, so number 3, it's still not clear what ignited the fires, but we know that they become extinct. The majority of wildfires, period, are human caused.
Oh yeah, fireworks or not putting out your campfire. Mm-hmm. Sometimes cars can cause wildfires. It happens surprisingly often. Someone flicking a cigarette.
Yeah. It's why we have like spark arresters. It's why you have to hang around for over an hour after you cut wood.
Mm-hmm. You're not supposed to use your chainsaw after a certain period, after a certain time of day. Yeah,
the summer season in Hawaii is dry and hot. It provides a foundation for extreme wildfires. Heat sucks moisture out of the vegetation, essentially turning into kindling. Last week, the blazes took off. Nearly 16% of Maui County was in severe drought, according to the drought monitors.
It's so weird to hear about a Hawaiian county in a drought state. I don't know why that's so weird to me. I guess it's because I always think of a tropical zone as being moist.
Now, here's the next one, number 4. The government faces scrutiny for failing to warn residents and responding slowly in the aftermath.
That's not good.
Yeah, the big one. People had very little time to evacuate. That's partially due to the nature of the fires, which are supercharged by strong winds and move quickly, jumping from rural grasslands into residential neighborhoods.
Oh.
Strong winds and power outages also made it challenging for firefighters to extinguish or even contain the blazes.
Well, and they don't have nearly as many folks as we do, for example, in our area.
At one point, fire hydrants started running dry.
Ooh.
So, again, we're talking about, hey, the power gone out.
Yeah.
It's that failure to warn. Again, that putting in the infrastructure to inform and update people.
Yeah. I have no idea how fresh water works in Hawaii. I assume they have wells, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's an island. I've never lived on an island. It's a different monster.
Yeah. Some people pointed out the problems of the island's disaster response Maui has a system of outdoor warning sirens, which are designed to alert people of threatening events like hurricanes and tsunamis. Apparently, they didn't go off.
Because it wasn't wet. It was no wet threat.
All right. Despite warnings of fire weather, the island's main electrical utility kept power lines electrified. It's one of the things that they have.
Oh, so despite the fires, they didn't turn off the power. So when the wires fell, it ignited more fires.
That's one of the big issues. And the fires are now mostly contained, but environmental hazards remain.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, climate change is the primary, is priming Hawaii for extreme wildfires. The state's roughly 2 degrees warmer than it was in 1950.
Wow, that's a lot.
So, yeah, meanwhile, there's less rainfall in 90% of the state compared to centuries ago. And then number 8 is the invasive grasses.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they invited a bunch of grasses in to feed livestock. Hey, they stopped feeding livestock. The grasses went everywhere.
And suddenly they've got these.
They got fuel.
They got fuel. They're in the jungle. They have fields.
And number 9, yeah, it's not the right time to use it in Hawaii. So
don't go to Hawaii.
We already touched about the Canada wildfires out of control, and they're just burning across most of Canada. It's just it's another year. They're gonna burn in those remote areas probably till the snow flies.
Yeah, because you can't get to them.
You
protect the people, you protect the structures. That's about all these teams can do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a long and complex and arduous process.
Okay, so what can we do as businesses? You know, one is reducing energy consumption.
Mm-hmm.
Getting smarter on how we use it. You don't need the air, the temperature in your office cranked down to 75 degrees during the night. You can let it go up. Mm-hmm. Having some upgrades, because some of those old systems suck some serious energy.
Oh yeah, and the newer ones are much more efficient.
Lighting, changing out lighting. Mm-hmm. We run LEDs in our office because it's a lower consumption. It also creates lower heat, which is easier to cool. Mm-hmm. Giving renewable energies a go. We talked about solar. I have actually did an entire office early 2000 solar, because solar could run a small swamp cooler and about 3-4 computers and the lights.
There you go.
So yeah, you could be surprised on how well it does it. We did that down in John Day. They had a big solar. I do not believe it's still going on. It was a big solar fest, and they had electric cars and biodiesel and the whole 9 yards. It was an amazing outfit. Reduce waste and fight obsolescence. Again, there are old devices. How old's that toaster you're using? Don't use Grandpa's toaster. Get some updated ones. Your air fryer is a good example of using that versus a great big oven. Well,
yeah, I mean, I made a dinner last night that it was, instead of using the oven to cook my meatballs, I used my air fryer. It took about the same amount of time, probably took a fraction of the power, and it didn't heat up the whole house. So my AC unit didn't have to work as hard.
Okay, here's one that are folks are hating on in certain positions. Optimize employees' transportation.
Oh yeah.
Okay, here's something. Employees at a 2-to-1 ratio are flocking to businesses that have a remote option.
Yes, even if it's just a hybrid version where you don't have to travel every day.
And we're one of the, insurance is one of those industries that, yes, we maintain an office. Do we have to? No.
No, we really can work.
We do it for our customers because we have the option, as long as, hey, the customers are taken care of. Woohoo! There are times when we are operating remotely.
And we're prepared to do that. We thrived when COVID hit for that regard.
And it also helps for folks that, hey, they can stay in their pajamas. We've actually been pitching this for years. Stay in your fluffy bunny slippers, and we can work this out over the phone.
Yeah.
Or over the computer.
Well, where it's also really helpful, I've noticed, is people with small children.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't have to worry about hauling their kids halfway around the town. But working out things like carpooling, ride sharing, using the bus, giving people bus transfers and passes, working remotely. There's ways to reduce the one passenger commute.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's been going on for a long time, but that's something that still needs to be addressed.
Yeah, it really, reduce it. Having those work share programs is just amazing in the difference. Choose greener infrastructures and equipment. That seems like a no-brainer. Hey, you know what? I'm not going to drive around in a Hummer if I have to go to Spokane for business.
Mm-hmm. Some people will, though.
Some people will. It's one of those things. The roads can get kind of rough here. It's like, yeah, we use all-wheel drive. Do I engage it all the time? No, don't have to. No. Choose sustainable suppliers. So yeah, you look for the ones that are, a little bit more greener.
A little greener.
Yeah. We talk about it, choose among employees, clients, and other stakeholders. Yeah, we talk about it all the time with our clients. It's like, yeah, you can phone this in. You do not have to come in. Mm-hmm. It's really helpful in days like this where it's, it's hot, it's miserable. If someone can stay home in AC, woohoo. If they don't have AC, then yeah, we'll come in. Yeah.
I mean, we've sheltered people without AC before.
Yeah. But yeah, there are actions that you as business owner can do that are environmental, that reduce your overhead cost. Mm-hmm. Because you know what? If you're not running your AC, it's cheaper. Mm-hmm. If your employee doesn't have to come in, woohoo, mm-hmm. You're saving some money and you're keeping your employee happy, which means you don't have to retrain a new employee because they quit.
Mm-hmm. Yes. The question is that employee being as productive as they could? That's the question. There's a balancing act there. Some people just have control issues and don't want to let their people not work in the office. So,
well, you've got to engage your peers and employees mm-hmm. as peers.
Uh-huh.
And if someone is abusing that and you look at it, woohoo, you find someone that can.
Exactly.
And eventually, hopefully they'll figure out, oh yeah, let's do this instead of, and be trustworthy.
Yeah.
So, hey,
yep.
You think about, green is good
yes.
in the environment and money.
Yep.
You can do both.
You will notice my reusable straw today.
That is one thing we do about this office is yes, we do have reusable cups. We have water pitchers.
Instead of water bottles.
We use a lot of small things add up. So, hey, have a great
week. We'll talk to you again next Thursday.
All right. Bye.
Bye.